Whether you're checking out the Husqvarna Viking Onyx 25 sewing machine to see what features it has and how easy it is to use, or you've just bought this machine and you're learning how to use it, these video tutorials are right at your fingertips and will teach you everything you need to know from A to Z of how to use this machine. There's a link in the description below of all the videos so you can kind of start binge watching them from the beginning whenever you need a refresher course or you're learning how to use your brand new best friend. So we've been doing videos today on how to use the zipper foot, how to do a blind hem. These are all feet that come with the machine, how to do an overcast stitch with the overcast foot. And now let's talk about the 1/4 inch foot that is included with this machine. So we're going to set the machine up for a straight stitch, a stitch length between 2, 2.5, and make sure you're on your center needle position. So make sure the stitch width is at 0 because this foot only has one little opening for it to go in. It also has markings, but I do want to show you how and where to guide your fabric for those particular marks and how to get the best out of it. Now, do note that there is a foot, it's optional, that you can purchase as a 1/4 inch foot that has a guide. So if you're used to a guide, or maybe you're thinking that might help hold your fabric in place a little better, just note that that is available to you at your Husqvarna Viking store. So as you slide your fabric in, we're gonna kind of guide you on how to get a perfect 1/4 inch seam every single time. Now, it's not just about how to guide your fabric. I'm going to talk about a few other things too. Your needle choice and your thread choice. This can be so much more important than any of these other things I'm going to show you because there are needles that are sharper than universal needles. So if you're always using universal needles, I would love for you to switch over to a quilting needle or a Microtech sharp needle. Those tips are much more precise. And it's one thing when you're just sewing like this block to this block, but when you start sewing blocks to blocks and you go through intersections, that sharper point will make a more accurate stitch when it starts to go through all the pressed seam allowances. Trust me. The other thing that a lot of quilters like to use is a thinner thread. Some people do like the cottons, so I have pulled out for you an Aurifil thread. It is a 50 weight, and another benefit of a thinner thread is when you wind a bobbin, more thread fits on your bobbin, so the bobbins last longer. So this thread is wonderful. A lot of quilters will pick this and then use it through some of the smaller needles because it is thin enough to go through those. So smaller needle, more accurate stitches as well. Sharper point makes all the difference. Do make sure that you are working with a fresh rotary cutter and fresh ruler. So if you've used a ruler for many, many years and over time, rulers actually shrink because you've slivered across them so many times. So treat yourself to a new ruler. So when you are cutting something that should be 2.5 inches wide, it actually is 2.5 inches wide, and then things will be more precise when you go to sew them together. That really shows up more when you start working with triangles. If you're just using squares and rectangles and strips, that's a little different, it's a little bit more forgiving, but we are going after perfecting your 1/4 inch seam with this video. So those are two things to make sure that you are using, and again, treat yourself to a new ruler. Now, as you go to guide your fabric, you'll want your fabric right underneath this toe and lined up with this long red line that extends behind the needle. I know a lot of times when students first use this foot, they think that their fabric needs to be out here next to the outside edge, and that's way too big. Just always measure before you actually get going. But double check that when you are looking here, you're going underneath the red line and not sneaking past that red line. Otherwise, you're going to be taking too deep of a seam, and remember, you still need to press open this final 2 pieces, and you're going to lose a little bit in that. That's why they talk about a scant 1/4 inch. A scant 1/4 inch is a hair less than a 1/4 inch, so it allows for the pressing open of your 2 pieces of fabric. So I would advise that you take some fabric, maybe you cut them the 2.5 inches wide, so two of them together and then do it again. So then you're measuring that everything should equal about 6.5 inches. And if it's not, it's a little bit smaller than that, then you need to adjust where you're guiding this. You're taking too big of a seam. So if you're working on getting everything perfect, this is a time to evaluate your thread, your needle, where you guide your fabric, whether or not you would prefer a foot with a actual kind of bar right here to keep your fabric pushed in so it doesn't sneak out. That is one thing some 1/4 inch users prefer. As I sometimes call them, like training wheels for quilters. That's always, there's nothing wrong with training wheels. Makes it really easy. You can actually kind of be a little bit more, less perfect because the foot will keep you more on track. So that's also a possibility. So make sure you practice, test, and measure, and I know that you'll know when your perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance is achieved when you get that perfect result at the end. I hope you'll check out all our video tutorials. There's a link at the end of this video, and there's a link in the description as well.